Chapter 6. Obey Your Own Heart. Have you ever had a goal in your life, and when you set the goal there was this little voice inside your mind that was constantly arguing with you? Stuff like, well, who do you think you are? And this goal is probably not right for you. This guy or this woman probably said something stupid to you. Don't listen to their advice. Like this argument that goes on inside of our own minds, where we're arguing over our own dreams, whether we should go for it or not. There's a lot of people that struggle with these arguments inside their own minds, and that is what this chapter is all about. That's why I called it Obey Your Own Heart. We have to learn to obey our dreams instead of arguing over old limiting beliefs that might still reside in our minds. We have to let go of all these beliefs. We have to transform these beliefs so we can see new opportunities come into view for all of us. Now, a good question we should ask ourselves is whether we are obeying our heart, or if we're more interested in defending old traditions. Since most people, perhaps you yourself, were not raised with these ideas, frequently there's a tendency to put up an argument. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with asking questions concerning any of these ideas, or anything else you read about for that matter. We want to make sure it really is as effective as it claims to be. What I'm getting at is this argument that goes on inside our own minds. Whether people like to admit it or not, we're all familiar with this voice inside our minds constantly challenging our decision to go for a better future. It is this inner argument where we have to decide for ourselves if it's really worth our time. Let's pretend for a moment you've decided to go for your dream, whatever it is, and at the same time you're constantly haunted by the following thoughts. You're crazy, you can never do this. Every second you even remotely spend time focusing on these thoughts and let it influence your emotions, you're holding some sort of argument with yourself. Instead of believing in your own dream, you're constantly arguing with your own heart. When I say we need to obey our heart, I mean we have to obey our imagination. We must learn to obey our dreams and do what it demands of us. Whenever you obey your dream, this means you spend as little of your time as possible thinking about all these contradicting ideas. Do you understand why this even occurs in the first place? It's very important for us to at least get some sort of understanding as to why this is happening, so we can become more effective in dealing with these mental arguments when they show up. Again, we'll have to go back to the time we were little kids. Earlier in this book I mentioned we were completely dependent on the people that surrounded us from the moment we're born. If we're raised in an environment in which our parents or the people in general didn't operate with the ideas I'm sharing in this book, it means we probably learned a lot of contradicting ideas about our own potential. As I'm making you more aware of a new potential that lies dormant within, namely your imagination, it challenges every belief you've ever held up until this point about yourself. It's because of this that a conflict occurs within our mind. Somewhere inside your mind you want to believe in these ideas, but at the same time it might feel difficult to fully accept all of it. I can remember very well that this occurred in my own life. Years ago when I first studied these ideas, my mind couldn't accept it right away. The good news is that I have overcome this mental battle and achieved a completely new perception about my own potential. Old tradition would say you can't be rich, you can't live your dreams, you have to be realistic, and you have to know how you would achieve certain goals before setting them. This new potential, which is being revealed to you right now, says none of this is needed. Which side are you going to obey? You must clearly understand you can only work with your own mind effectively by studying how to do so. These are subjects you have to study on a regular basis, and you have to keep reminding yourself of these new ideas, so old ideas, beliefs, and traditions won't convince you all over again that you can't do something. If that happens, you'll fall back into a life of limitation. It may be difficult at first to completely give yourself over to your imagination. It might be uncomfortable and even scary to let yourself be guided by your imagination. You'll discover that you are led towards new actions. You're compelled to do things you might have never done before in your life. If you understand why it's scary, it is simply because it's beyond your current comfort zone. If you keep trusting in your imagination, you'll develop the necessary courage to go right on towards the realization of your wonderful dreams. Ask yourself, is everyone really living up to their own potential? Or is there a possibility many people live way below what they are truly capable of doing, simply because they rather follow old traditions and accept the status quo? This all ties to that old boogeyman inside our minds, the one that whispers and makes us scared of what other people might think. We are afraid they might even laugh at us. All these patterns ultimately cause us to rather stick with old traditions and not stand out too much. We rather obey the rules of society instead of the visions from our hearts that seek to be expressed. Whenever you notice that old beliefs and concepts inside your mind are trying to hold you back, you'll have to consciously learn to say, "Get away from me. I am not interested in this nonsense any longer." Redirect your attention on what you want with all of your heart and soul. Remember that I said you must fall in love with your own dreams. You must fall in love with your own imagination. Love is a powerful emotional state and will help you overcome all contradicting ideas. Every time you catch yourself thinking about old limiting ideas and beliefs, it must serve as a signal to your consciousness that in this very moment you're not using your mind in the right way. There will come a time after practicing this often enough that it will happen automatically. It is from that moment you'll also develop these inner skills that help you to take charge of your own mind more effectively. And that is ultimately the greatest achievement for any human being. So, are you obeying the visions from your heart? Or are you obeying old traditions, beliefs, and limitations concerning what you can or cannot supposedly do? Most of these limiting ideas entered your mind when growing up, but they don't serve any purpose now that you're interested in realizing your own dreams. Only by completely and fully giving themselves over to their imagination can humanity cause drastic changes to take place. Only by daring to approach life from this angle will we discover what's truly possible for us. Then, moving forward, we will crash right through all the old ideas, the old convictions we ever held about ourselves and our potential. So again, you can just analyze it for yourself. So far, have you started working with these ideas? Have you tried applying them in your life? If not, it's a clear indication that the old programming, the old belief system is still in charge. And it isn't strange. If this is the first time you're studying this, it takes a certain amount of time and effort on your part to reprogram your own mind. That is true. But, as it says, it has to be a conscious effort. You have to consciously be involved in this on a daily basis so your beliefs and your ideas really start to shift about what is possible for you, so that old programming becomes replaced. That is what this chapter is all about, and is reminding you about that no matter what your dream is, it's that old programming in your mind that wants to make you feel like it is impossible. And that's what we have to realize, that it's just an old programming that we can override by conscious and deliberate intent to override it, to focus on the good things, to focus on our visions, no matter how absurd it may seem at first.